I'm doing great.
Thanks so much for letting me observe your class. I really enjoyed it. It's nice to get out of my own classroom and into others.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So I attended your creative writing class. And that was a couple days ago. I'm sorry we haven't been able to meet since then.
Snow day.
But I'm wondering what you remember most vividly about that lesson.
It was the first time I've done it. It was the first time I'd done it this year. It was the first time I'd done it in about 5 years. Did that lesson, and I changed it the night before. I changed it and inserted new images and all the new paintings and stuff like that. Because I felt like a lot of the stuff I had done years ago had been so long that I needed to update everything. So the thing about the lesson itself that I probably remember the most is the writing samples. I mean, I guess it was the writing samples I got afterwards that commented on like the different images, because after kind of it was all said and done, they asked to look at another picture and do it. So we went back. So I just flipped through them and they picked one at random.
Oh, okay.
So
from the slides that you showed.
Yeah, they just kind of picked one. I just said, well, here they all are again, so you can just
they
choose
wanted
one.
more. Okay.
So anyway.
Where does this lesson fit into your curriculum? You said it was the first time that is this the first time you've taught creative writing in a while? Or?
Yeah, it's the first time I've taught creative writing, and like I said, a handful of years. Actually, the last school I was at was where I taught it, and then Mr. Ferguson taught it here for the last 3 years. So it was the first time I've done that in a while. Creative writing is an elective, and it obviously focuses on less of the technical writing than more of the creative, hence the name. So, I mean, as far as the curriculum goes, the creative writing curriculum was essentially designed by Mr. Ferguson, and then I just kind of took a lot of the stuff that I did in the past. Like, he had never done like this lesson, and actually what I'm trying to get him to do is to write from first person the story that they have to write, that they're working on now after that, is something that he's ever done. So it's just little things that I've kind of tweaked and made it my own.
So the writing that they did in this class isn't something you directly assess, or is it? Oh yeah,
the writing what they did, they have to create, and that's kind of coming up next week. They have to create a writing portfolio at the end, where the quick writes that we do 3 times a week, and we do table activities every Wednesday. They have to clean those all up and kind of polish them up, and then put them in like a portfolio that they hand in to me. So I did collect their writings the other day, the ones that they did about the paintings, and kind of read through them, and they're rough drafts, obviously, but I kind of commented on them and then gave them back to them, and then that's one of the like quick writes, essentially, that what they'll polish that up and then hand it in with their final writing portfolio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I enjoyed some of the pieces that were read aloud.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how different they can, those perspectives can get.
Yeah. That's what's so cool about that class. It's constantly different. Or I always write alongside. I always write as well. And it's funny because the thing that I think of, it's like everyone else does different.
Yeah.
It's cool.
The smell, I liked how you were
that was a lot of people got that.
How do you think the lesson went then, overall?
I think it went well. There's definitely some things that I can change in it. That's for sure. I mean, they wanted to write more. So I can definitely, I'm going to have them, instead of them really, I just have them do that one piece at the end. I think when I went back and looked at it, I think I can have them do 3. That's kind of, I think, that we can do, and then have them write do like a first person point of view, a second person, and a third person point of view.
Oh, okay.
And then they can kind of choose from those 3 which one they want to clean up, or which perspective they want to take for the story that then they write after doing it. But I thought it went really well. The students were definitely engaged. And they wrote, and they like to share what they write, which is nice, and they're all talented. I mean, I think the majority of the kids that take creative writing, they take it because they like to write. I tell them the very first day, like, you're going to write every day.
Right.
So if you don't like to write, you're really in a bad place right now. So, I mean, I think that I think it went well. I think that I might, the last day of the term, the second to last day of the term, I might do something again with images for fun. See what they do, because they like that. I might find some more like cartoony type stuff, or something that's like not from the Renaissance period.
Right.
So.
Right. Some of the pictures.
Yeah.
Sure. What do you think you could have done to increase student engagement, like in the beginning, the middle, or towards the end of your lesson?
That's where I think I definitely could have had them they could have written more and shared out. The one thing I'm always kind of slightly reluctant about doing stuff like that is that if they hear someone else's, it alters what they write.
Sure.
And I'm always like so scared of if I type and leave it on the board behind me where they'll see what I do and then change things.
Sure.
But I think if I had if the images are so different, I don't think that should really be, you know, they would only get good ideas. Oh, that person talked about the smell, that person talked about the senses, I should put more of that in this one. So I think that's what I could definitely do to get them more, you know, talking more and writing more and speaking more and doing those things. So I think that's definitely the thing I'm going to change.
Okay.
Change about it.
So when you were showing the slides, you would just have them, you know, write a couple sentences from someone's
Yeah.
perspective rather than...
Yeah, instead of kind of waiting to the end and talking about each picture individually. You know, it's not an art history class, and I don't know a ton about a lot of these paintings or
Right.
anything like that. I know a little bit from college,
Sure.
but so they don't need to know about all the background and stuff, which I didn't tell them a ton about. But they can kind of come up with that background stuff by
Sure.
writing, and then, like I said, sharing out. And you know, there's 5 tables. I can show them 5 paintings, and someone from table 1, and you know, like you write about this one, and you write about this one, and you know, they can kind of tell the stories of the
Oh,
paintings
that'd
they're
be
writing.
fun.
So
Yeah, have them all share.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Or
So-
even moving around.
Exactly.
different- Yeah.
yep,
That'd
definitely.
be fun. I noticed when they were given the chance to write, there wasn't a single peep, and you're
Yeah.
writing that whole
I
time.
know they
Not
do.
one peep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I was watching the students, and no one was looking up like, God, are we done yet? Or nobody
Yeah.
was done before the time that you gave.
Yeah, I always tell them with quick writes, like when we do the very first one, that the whole purpose is you never pick your pen up. Like you write, so if you're stuck, then you write blah 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 blah. I don't know what to write about. I can't, because like it's just the act of moving, the act of that.
Sure.
Then like something will click. It's like a little trigger, you know, will go off, and then you can drop in, and then when you polish it, you just take and scratch out all that stuff that
all
you
the
didn't.
blah blahs.
You know, I do it all the time when I write, when I do that. But then that's the thing is like you know, I'll tell you about 2 more minutes. You got another minute. Finish up the sentence here. I'm like, I'll tell you, like, you just write. And they're pretty good about it.
Yeah,
They've really kind of
so
taken to
skills
it, which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you think of anything else that you would do in the future lessons to ensure success or prevent failure on looking at perspectives?
Well, like I said, I mean, I think having them write more is definitely going to help. It's definitely going to help them in the long run, and it's definitely going to help them with the assignment or the story that they're doing now, because I kind of gave them the characters and gave them a setting and gave them a time period and stuff like that, or at least gave them a list of options. So I think, you know, they're so used to writing, like, you have a 3-page story that we're going to peer review on Thursday. It can be about anything, just go for it. And they're very good at doing that.
Okay.
But if you give them like set, you know, it's just a challenge. And that was the same, that's kind of what I was trying to go for with the images, is that here's the picture, you got to write about the picture. Don't write about, you know, anything else. You got to pick someone or pick a setting or pick, you know. So I think that getting them to write more, instead of just writing about one image that was, you know, looked a certain way or was during a certain time period, you know, if they wrote about one, you know, a painting or a photograph or something that was taken 2 weeks ago,
Sure.
it'd be much different than doing one that was, you know, one of those, you know, a painting of Van Gogh or something like
Sure.
that I showed. So
Yeah.
I think doing that, I mean, any little bit of writing helps them, that's for sure. So
Right. I was wondering about the one painting that you did was like a medical scene,
Yeah.
you know, like I thought it was really great how even though none of them are medical doctors
Yeah.
or surgeons,
Yeah.
they still had that perspective down pretty, you know,
Yeah.
about the mad science.
I know it,
mad,
right?
Crazy.
And that's
Yeah.
the reason I picked that one is definitely because it's kind of creepy, and kids
Yeah.
like that. They like that, like the gothic
Yeah.
stuff. They like that because they kind of it's real. They can let their imaginations go,
Right.
you know, and they can come up with stuff like that. So yeah, that was why I picked that one instead of, you know, one with 200 people in
Right,
it, and
right.
you know,
Yeah, it was
so
I liked how you had them go around and then guess
yeah,
who they were, so that was
Yeah.
good. So, do you have any goals that you've set for yourself related to the review of this lesson, or?
No, Well, I mean, I'm excited to read when they're polished off and done. I'm definitely excited to read that, and that'll probably tweak. You know, if I tweak anything, that'll definitely we'll see. Because when I see those writings, and I'll be, we'll be able to see if there's anything they missed or if they really didn't like that picture. They really didn't, or didn't. The story seems kind of boring, and you could, and they have to in the portfolio, they have to respond to everything that they've written as well.
Oh.
So I'll get like personal feedback from the kids, like I didn't really like this, I didn't enjoy, or I really liked this painting, or stuff like that.
Sure.
So we'll see. That'll definitely impact, obviously.
So for their next assignment, you've chosen the.
Yeah, I give them.
Did you give them a painting again? Or
no, I actually give them 4. I have them pick a number. 4 numbers 1 through 10, and just write them down, just random. You have to pick number 1 through 10, and then I have like a Prezi or PowerPoint or whatever Prezi that has a list of 10 characters, and whatever their number is, that's the character.
Nice.
Yeah. So they get weird oddball combinations, like a 93-year-old woman at high school graduation, in the 1990s. But they get these weird scenarios. So it's a challenge thing. It's a plot line, and I make them. There has to be 2 settings in the story, so the character has to move. It has to be in first person. The character they pick doesn't have to be the main character, but they have to be in a secondary. They can't be like the 2 main character teenage boys are walking past a 93-year-old woman who's sitting at a high school graduate. And she has to be an active participant. So they do that. So that was kind of the purpose too of showing a painting where there's like multiple people, is that they're all active participants in this. Whatever's happening in the painting, they're all in there for, the painter put them in there for a reason. So that's what I'm trying to kind of get them to do, is that all the people in your stories, they're all in there for a reason. They all have a purpose for being in there. So we did a lot of character building, and did like a character questionnaire where I asked them questions where they really had to create their character. And what is your character's biggest failure in life? Well, when he was 8 years old, he lost his spelling bee in his elementary school, and that was really detrimental. But I mean, I'm like, maybe it doesn't come up in your story, but like that could impact how he acts in it. So I just gave them this list of all these random, strange questions, and they're really, that's the next 2 weeks is essentially they really have to like make a person. Like if you were to draw this person out and talk about them, like, is it a real person? Could you really do it? So. We'll see.
Do you ever have them? I remember at the beginning of the class you said, well, next week we're going to be doing some more reading. Mm-hmm. Do you ever have them read books that are Mrs. Bremer gave me a book that's written from a husband's perspective and a wife's, and it switches back and forth.
Yeah,
it's
that's...
like she comes home, or he comes home and his wife's missing. I can't remember the name of the book, but it switches, and it's sometimes those are hard to follow. Yeah,
those are difficult. We talked about that. I told them that it's difficult to do that.
Is. Yeah.
That was I wrote a book, and that was how I wrote the book, and that was like my biggest mistake, was doing that. It's my very first piece of writing, because everything has to line up and correlate, and it's tough. So if we had more time, I used to do one where people would partner up and they would write 2 sides of the story, and they would do that. But that's definitely, it's pretty invasive, and it takes time, and they have to coordinate. Everyone's got to be there, and stuff like that. So I mean, it's an option. I think that when I do creative writing next year, there might be something that I get bump and put that in, and it forces them to work with a partner, which is nice. So they do, the very first thing they write is they have to be someone in a wedding party, and they have to write about the same wedding.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of a similar thing, but someone's like the usher, one of the ushers, and one's like the father of the bride, and one's the DJ, and they have to kind of write about the same stuff, but it's kind of like different stories, and they just end in the same spot. So, but having them write about the actual action at the same time it's tough for them, but it's super fun. They have fun with it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you letting me come in, and
definitely.
I don't have any other questions, so
sounds good.
I think you're off the hook.
All right, that sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Go eat. Yeah.